What's up, everyone, and welcome to ClearTalk. So in this video, we're going to bring it back domestic. All right, we're going to get back here within our inner states, our inner borders, and we're going to talk about ICE, and we're going to talk about National Guard deployment. We're going to talk about threats made to governors and mayors and Trump and all that. So, welcome to ClearTalk. If you're brand new here, thank you for coming. Thank you for joining. Thank you for checking out the video. If you would like to check out more videos from the channel, please do there at ClearTalk. Consider subscribing, like, share, comment, all that good stuff to help out the algorithm, get videos in front of more people. If you would like to check out videos from my other channels, JMDPLAY and Puzzling, please do consider subscribing to those as well, and all the other, algorithm stuff for those as well. That would be amazing, and it helps out the channels, it helps out me, helps out the JMD Nation at large. Thank you very much. If you would like to give any kind of support, there are links there for support, whether there's ongoing or one-time stuff. If you want to become a part of JMD Nation, thank you. That would be amazing. Any support you give is very much appreciated. And if you're returning, you are freaking amazing. You are the shit. And I welcome you back here to ClearTalk. So, all right. Woo! Man, things are continuing to get hot and heavy across the U.S., isn't it? I mean, we have talked since this all started, the push for mass deportations, which was brought about the entire time, from Trump. In the come up to the election. I mean, he said it all along. The Republicans have always been heavy about deportation, but he was specifically hardcore, and the people behind him were specifically hardcore about mass deportations. They wanted to. Trump wants to be, he is Trumpian. He is Trumpian of himself. He wants to be and look and have all the records. He wants to do the best of the best. He wants to be known as the biggest deporter ever. He wants to be known as the best peacemaker ever. He wants to be able to be known as the biggest warmonger ever. He just, everything, it just comes out that he just wants to be the biggest ever of everything. He wants coins. He wants his picture on coins before, anybody else ever would have ever gotten one, or, whatever the case. So when he started talking about mass deportation, and people, I think there was this idea of law and order that was attractive to a lot of people. And while I agree with law and order, we're talking about Trump, and we're talking about these far-right extremists that are in Trump's regime, that were behind Trump, that were behind pushing for these policies. And I think that people had this idea. Most people, I think, had this idea of like controlled, meticulous, like functional deportation measures. You go in, you have everything, tied up in a bow, marked all, crossed all your T's and I's. Like, we know exactly where we're going. We know who we're going for. We're going to get them. I think there's a part of people who think like that was what could happen, or what was going to happen, or what they hoped would happen, maybe. And it looked civil. It looked proper. It looked right. It looked like something that an official authority, like someone with some sense or with some discipline, would have concocted, would have planned, would have established a strategy a controlled strategy of getting people, illegals and whatnot, get them, deport them, get them out of the United States or whatever, from taking away more of all those jobs that we don't really care about, and use paying all these taxes that we didn't even know that they were paying. I think that was what the idea was, and I think it's becoming more and more apparent that what we were seeing across the United States, what we were seeing with these ICE agents, what we were seeing with the grabs, the just kidnapping people in masks and regular clothes, or either the complete extreme of that in some kind of more army like appearance with guns and tanks and snipers on roofs and Black Hawk helicopters, where they're falling onto an apartment complex and just arresting people all willy-nilly, grabbing people out and putting them in handcuffs, like all this insanity, this just aggressive, violent, just chaos that we are seeing across the country in all these different areas. And we've heard it, little by little. It's like it was just a little bit here. It was light stuff at first. Oh, well, they accidentally grabbed an actual citizen. Oh, oops, that was a bad one. Oh, my bad. We messed up. Or there, or if they did grab somebody, something like there was some kind of excuse for it. It was just like, oh well, that's just one in hundreds and hundreds that we just know were justified. But now we're seeing more and more and more where they're just getting more and more aggressive. They're getting more careless. They're getting more chaotic. They're getting more militarized, and they're getting and doing all these warrantless acts, literally warrantless arrests. And I think it's becoming less and less palatable for those who thought that this was going to be something that looked organized or civilly organized. Let's put it that way, because this is certainly organized, just more chaotically organized. I think this is even becoming less and less palatable for even those people. I don't think this was the image that a lot of people thought when they thought mass deportation. They just thought, oh yeah, we're going to go in. We know who they are. We've got this list. We've got these 10 million people. We got a list of all their names. We know exactly who they are, where they are, what they're doing, their family members, what hobbies and behavioral stuff that they do, how many people they've killed. We know all these things. So we're gonna go get them specifically. Hunt. We don't even have to hunt them. We know where they are. We're gonna get them out. I think this was kind of a mentality, but now we're just seeing these people just grabbed all willy-nilly anywhere. They can grab them even if they just somewhat look like they might be illegal, or they are in an area where it's thought to be heavily populated with undocumented people or something. They're just grabbing people, and you're getting a lot of public pushback in the local areas. There was even the other day I saw a video of some 2 ICE agents supposedly They looked like they were in regular ass clothing, except for they had their masks and stuff on, trying to grab some guy. Like they jumped out of an SUV, just a black unmarked SUV, grabbed a guy, was trying to wrestle him down to the ground and arrest him. And people around were noticing this, and they stopped. They were getting out of their cars. People were driving by, honking their horns, yelling at them. What are you doing? What is your why are you doing this? Where's your warrants? Where's what are you arresting him for? Like they were trying, and eventually it took like 5 minutes or more or whatever of them wrestling around and not, people pushing back on them, people in their face. And it became very public, very public. This was in broad daylight too. That they ultimately walked away. They felt that they had no choice but to unhandcuff and walk away. They jumped in their vehicle and drove off. It was actually really great to see that amount of public pressure and pushback could stop these just. I'm sorry, but these are crazed people. These are thugs that are part of ICE and that have been established. I mean, it looks like they have just grabbed anybody who just has hate in their heart, grab anybody who just wants to, the supremacist type people, just and told them, hey, we're going to give you some handcuffs. When you see an undocumented person, or you see someone who even looks like they could be an undocumented person, you grab them. You grab them, you take them, bring them to us. We'll take care of it. And they've given, I feel like they've just given these random ass people this so-called authority to arrest. And they really don't have any legal rights to arrest. They're walking around with what few warrants they might actually have. And then they come to an area where they think that this person is. And then they've got this tactic of, well, if there are other appeared undocumented people around, we're going to grab them too. So it's like we're, 2 birds, 1 stone, or 5, 10 birds, 1 stone kind of idea. And they carry around these blank warrants where they on the spot will fill out the warrant now and use that as a justification for arresting this person that they weren't originally going for. Now, I think we all know how warrants work. There's nothing legal about a warrant that is written on the spot. That is something that has to be signed off by a judge or somebody of legal stance. It's not something that can just be done willy-nilly on the spot. There's nothing whatsoever legal about any of that. Or they're just straight up arresting people with no warrants whatsoever and claiming that they have warrants back at the office or whatever, but they didn't bring it with them, but they're going to grab you anyways. And there is just this craziness about this. And it has started really bringing hard criticism. A lot of legal stuff is happening. You have judges getting involved, lawyers getting involved. And it's getting crazy. You had Trump, tweeting or truthing as he's, always does, truthing, threatening, because we know Portland, we know Chicago is the 2 big names here lately that have been talked about. They've kind of walked away from LA a little bit. But Portland and Chicago is certainly the 2 big ones right now. And with Chicago being the top of the notch, he was supposed to have already deployed National Guard there, attempted to, even federalize the Illinois National Guard, and the Illinois National Guard refused. That was, an interesting thing. So when they did that, well, then he was like, okay, well, then I'll deploy another National Guard and send them to you. And you've had threats of, like I said, Trump got on in truthing, threatening that, and this is clearly going to be argued that he was just joking. This is just Trump's joking thing, but that the mayor of Chicago and that the governor of Illinois, Pritzker, that they should be jailed, that they should be put in jail, they should be arrested for not protecting his ICE agents. And so that has had some backlash, clearly. And also, which has also given a response too. I mean, Pritzker, apparently did his little response where he, basically told Trump, if you are going to come for my people in Chicago, then you have to come through me. And so if you're coming, then here you go, come get me. Kind of, it was a kind of a big boy, big pants, dick swinging kind of thing. Very, a politician-y kind of thing. I think it is a bit overboard. It come off just, like I said, a dick swinging contest of a big child against another big child. But nevertheless, that's what's going on. And now you have Trump actually deploying members of the Texas National Guard, has been officially deployed to Chicago. My understanding is around 200 people, 200 National Guardsmen, and you've got the governor of Texas, of course, making, we're sending our best there. Top notch, elite National Guardsmen. Of course, I'm pretty sure that most of them are probably very much elite, very much good guys, do a good job. National Guardsmen, a lot of them are voluntary. These of course, there's pictures that have come out of National Guardsmen that are from Texas. When arriving in Chicago, one truck, and it had like 4 or 5 guys. Well, no, about 4 or 5 guys coming out of it, and they were all, let's just say, beefy. That might be a bad word. They were all fairly husky guys, the kind of guys that that Pete Hegseth would have been talking about in his little speech the other day. And they've been called all kinds of stuff, Meal Team 6, and it's just all kinds of stuff. Anyways, now, granted, that's probably only a few of the many that are probably in outstanding shape and do a great job. And these guys probably can do a great job, even if they may look and be considered out of shape. Who knows? But, nevertheless, you've got this going on, which is already a bad look. A red state sending National Guards to what is considered more of a blue state, to a blue city, even furthermore, a blue earth city. This is just not a good look. It's not a good look whatsoever. And I think that the people who are behind this, the people who are pushing for this in the administration, I think there is an equal group of people that have the same mentality in our public and our citizenry, who are the audience for this. And this is kind of an audience capture kind of thing. where I think they've decided to go full on in this aggressive manner, especially ICE particularly, have decided to go in this aggressive manner because there is an audience for it, and they get riled up by it, as well as they rile that audience up by it, which gives this appearance of approval, of support, like a grand support that actually doesn't exist, for the Trump administration, and even in Trump specifically. I think he thinks it makes him look supported, even if that might be delusional and on his part. But yeah, I mean, it's disturbing at the very least. And what's crazy about it is that a lot of these areas that were declared, like Portland, for instance, like Chicago, for instance, the argument there's kind of a divided or weird way that's being argued by the administration that, oh, these are crime-ridden cities and we need to send people in to take care and stop the crime. But yet then there's also this underlying, well, it's really about our ICE and federal buildings, and we need to protect ICE and the federal buildings. It's not really about, so it's like, okay, is it about crime? Is it about ICE and the facilities, or or are we just sort of, throwing stuff at the wall and seeing which one people care about the most? I don't know. But if it's about crime, these cities, while arguably are crime-ridden cities, no doubt, Portland, Chicago, LA, San Francisco, Washington, D.C., even to a degree New York and others, they are crime-ridden cities because they are highly populated cities. And anytime you get high populated areas, there's bound to have more crime there because more people have the opportunity to do more crime. But also, the crime statistics there were showing that there's been a reduction of crime across all these cities, in the recent years and even the recent decade, but that didn't seem to matter. Yes, they are crime ridden, but the crimes had reduced, not like majorly, but they were in the more positive direction. And even when it come to the protests against ICE, if we're looking at the protesting against ICE, even those protests and stuff had started to dwindle down. It was even inner reports from the administration that were stating low energy support, like low energy protests going on outside these facilities in these areas. But yet there's still this rhetoric and push from the administration to go in anyways and to pump up your ICE and National Guard presence that has ultimately stoked what little fire there was still left, stoked it, and has gotten it burning again. And that's the issue. That's the thing that I find that the Trump administration is continuously doing over and over again, and that's like pouring more fuel on the fire to create something that really wasn't necessarily there. It was dwindling down and kind of chilling out some, but that didn't look good for them. They wanted to keep that fire going so that it looks like they have a reason for their rhetoric, for starters. And so they are stoking and pushing and pressuring and causing this stuff to come back up and to get, quote unquote, out of hand and chaotic. And that's being pressed and pushed by ICE and National Guardsmen and stuff. It's more so been ICE agents than National Guards. But doing these. You're getting these scenes where they are using tear gas, and they're using pepper balls and pepper gas and rubber bullets and stuff on protesters in Chicago and in Portland. It's even to the point where Chicago PD members were accidentally pepper sprayed a few days ago. I mean, it's which to me just shows that there's a lack of control, a lack of discipline. It comes back to that what we were talking about with Trump the other day, him arguing, well, I've been saying if they spit, we hit, I don't care about, he basically acting like he didn't care about discipline, that, he wanted them to go all raw and dog and, physical, get physical with people. That's what he was pushing for, even though that kind of, like I said, was contrary to, in some degree, what Pete Hegseth was trying to say in having more discipline. It kind of fell in the face of that. We must realize that this is a problem. We must discuss it. That is a problem. And identify what, in my opinion, is their actual agitators, was the ones who are actually causing the problem. You have ICE out of control, using illegal tactics over and over and over again against not only undocumented immigrants, but even U.S. citizens, even though in the moment they argue that they're not, but then it comes to find out that they are. Or also using, drastic, brutal tactics against protesters and demonstrators. You have the Trump administration pushing for taking over areas without the consent of the local authorities, who are arguing, and apparently rightfully so, because, like I said, their own documentation stated that there was no reason for escalation, that these were low-level, low-energy displays of protesting and stuff, but yet we kept hearing that, these places are out of control. They're out of control. They're on fire. They're brutal. They're crime ridden. We've got to go in and we got to save these cities, because these governors and mayors, they don't know what they're doing. They're stupid people. They don't know what they're doing. We know better. We're smart. Stupid people love us, but we're smart. If they're so stupid, then you would think that Pritzker and the mayor would love Trump, according to Trump, but doesn't seem to be the case. And now you even have judges that are agreeing with the federal government's data about there not being enough here. Where you have a judge, I think it was in Portland, if I'm not mistaken, basically stating that, there was no here. You do not have, justification to bring National Guards here. And then also in Chicago, there's been a judge that basically what they have in Chicago is they've been looking into, and this is something that's actually been more than just recent. This is a couple of years worth of investigation on ICE raids and stuff, and ICE actions where they have been, but it's even more so now, that where they've been collecting information about how these tactics have been deployed, and whether they were right and warranted in the things that they were doing, when it would come around warrants available, and how they were operating with these arrests on individuals that are quote unquote undocumented. And you had this sort of you have this national like policy of ICE and how they're supposed to conduct themselves, right? And the idea is that they're supposed to conduct themselves with this a lawness, like a order, where just like you would expect an officer to act, or even a member of the military to act, where it's to be civil, to have, like I said, the idea that I originally was talking about, where I think people had this idea that they would have their warrants, have their paperwork, have their go in correctly, but they haven't been, and the tactics that they've been using are not only going against national policy, but Chicago specifically, because of acts that previously had happened in the Chicago and surrounding areas, had this consent, like, additional policy where they were able to have access to more data and information, or would request more information so that they could investigate on those things and deem whether or not they were like justified, or whether or not they were lawful, or whatever. And that added consent has now presented itself in the case where prosecutors have brought it to a judge and been like, look, this is stuff, they're not doing stuff like they're supposed to do. This is unlawful. And the judge agreed. And that not only has this caused a pushback for the Chicago area and surrounding areas, but this could eventually, this decision could even have more national implications, because it will be looked at, because the underlying consent did include national policy. And so there could be now a deeper look around this decision on the national scale, and how ICE has been not only conducting themselves in Chicago and the surrounding areas, but also nationally. And so it's going to be interesting to see, because of this decision, whether or not we will start to see a change in the tactics that ICE has been using. Not sure whether or not that's going to happen or not. Because it seems that over the past months, it's like you've been seeing a more and more aggressive approach. I think mostly even pushed by Stephen Miller and stuff. Like, he's been hardcore pushing. We saw where he went off on the ICE agents and the people over, and saying, why are we worried about the people who are criminals? You just need to be getting everybody. Go to the local, Home Depot, local Lowe's, local, whatever, and pick up people that are just sitting there waiting for, work. Like, we just grab anybody. He didn't care. That type of tactic since then we've seen a more and more aggressive, like steadily becoming more and more aggressive, and steadily seeing people that didn't really look official, people just grabbing people, wrestling with people, putting them in handcuffs, throwing them in the vehicles, and you can't, that are unidentifiable. There's no markings on these individuals as to what they are or who they are, and people are just like accepting that they're ICE, accepting that they are doing something legal. And I just can't. It's been, if you saw that anywhere else, if you saw just random ass people in masks and regular clothing grabbing, say, someone like that looked like me, just grabbing someone who looked like me off of the side of the road, handcuffing me and throwing me in. You don't think that people would be questioning, what a kidnapping just happened? They'd be calling the local, uh, taking down the license plates, taking, this person just got kidnapped. This person's, but yet when this is happening to someone who looks more like what would be stereotypical undocumented person, it's like, that's just ICE. That's just ICE. They're just doing their thing. What? How do you know? How do you know these aren't just bad actors, assholes or whatever, just being assholes? I mean, okay, you're just automatically taking them as ICE. Okay, fine, then I'm gonna automatically take them as ICE too. And honestly, they probably are. They're being protected and defended by ICE and defended by those in the administration. So clearly, I guess they are. But I'm just saying the image of that, it's crazy to me how in one direction you would look at it and go, that is bad. Like if it was somebody grabbing someone who looked like me off the streets, we would immediately click, that is bad. Something bad, something wrong, something that should not have happened just happened here. But yet when the roles are flipped and somebody else is grabbed by people who look like that, you have people that look at that and go, yeah, that's exactly what the fuck I want to happen. That's based. Bet, motherfuckers. Heh. You got yours. The legal issues and cases, judgments, like I've been saying all along, it seems like that's the only thing that has given any kind of real resistance to the Trump and his regime. We're going to have to see what happens from there, how the behavior of ICE adjusts or doesn't. But I mean, it doesn't even matter at this point. They should all, in my opinion, they should all be arrested. They should be put in jail. Every one of the ICE members that have been conducting in this way, and members of the administration, authorities over ICE and over these mass deportation actions should all be arrested, should be tried for laws against citizens of the United States, unlawful acts, warrantless acts, kidnapping, human trafficking, concentration camps. Everybody associated to all this should have some kind of legal actions against them, in my opinion. Should see their day in court, and a jury of their peers decide what the future holds for them. And that's all the way up to Trump once again, because he it starts from the top. It starts from the top. So yeah, thank you very much for joining me. Let me know what you think. And till next time, peace, clear talk with love. I'm out.